It's Don Blackburn with Indoor Man. And I'm coming to you from our new offices in Leawood. Yes, we're back in the office here at Active Logic, so back to office life for me. And this week on Indoor Man, I've got a very special guest joining me, someone that I've known for several years, somebody that's been a coworker of mine, has been a client of mine on a few different occasions, is currently a client of mine, and certainly my favorite Australian that I know, which, is not very many. But it's Jim Giannakis. Jim, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on, Don. Yeah, man, it's an honor to be your favorite Australian. I take that. I take that one, and I'm very much appreciative of that for sure.
No problem.
Thanks for having me on.
If you really wanted to be nice, you could say I was your favorite American, but that's all right.
You're one, dude. I'm telling you, man, you're one of the first ones I met when I first got here. I remember you and a couple of other headhunters were calling me up saying, "Oh, we've got work for you." So I think that's where it all began, right? Many years ago.
And the rest is history.
Yeah.
And now you're a bigwig. So I wanted to kind of just introduce you to my audience. I know you've got a huge audience over on the YouTube side, but tell us a little bit about yourself. How'd you get here from Australia? How'd you get into IT? Things like that.
Yeah, no. Again, thanks for having me on. I'll kind of condense it as best I can, but there's a story there. I mean, I think as someone who's in their kind of mid 40s now, I grew up in the 80s, and first ever experience was a Commodore VIC-20 that my dad brought home from his work one day. I think someone must have told him at his work that computers were coming, and if you want your kids to be the smartest kids at school, then this is what you need. So they brought home a VIC-20, and when you're like a 9-year-old at the time, you don't really know what you're doing with this thing. But fortunately, it came with a manual that had basically taught you how to write code in BASIC. It was kind of the basic programming language. Yeah. So that's kind of where I got my start. I knew even when I was a teenager that I wanted to do stuff with computers, but back then computers wasn't even really a marketable skill. Even when I got to college, I did computer science degree in the early 90s. And again, this is like before Windows 95 and the dawn of the internet. So it was really, is this something that I'm going to end up getting a job in at the time? My brother was an engineer, and he found work immediately after graduating. And I was unemployed for maybe the first 4 months after I'd graduated, because there was really no work out there, unless you were one of these mainframe guys that was already kind of, invested in working on like an IBM, mainframe or an AS400. For someone that was straight out of college, there was really no employment. But eventually I found a job as a junior developer, and I started out as a C programmer, of all things, and kind of just went from there. I mean, once you obviously get your first, foot in the door, and the opportunities get better for you, and you get more experience. But as to how I ended up in the US, I moved over here actually in 2006. It was a woman that brought me over here, which is now my wife of many, many years. But long story short, I took, I'll say, a 6-week vacation from my current job, which was working for a financial company in Melbourne, Australia. And I came over here, and I mean, I never really went back. It was everything just kind of fell into place. It was, it was one of those stories where you tell someone and they're like, "Man, you're crazy for doing that." And I think about it now, and I'm like, man, what was I doing at the time? But I guess, I came over here, and I didn't really realize that Kansas City had good IT. I kind of felt pretty comfortable that I could find work in Kansas City, but I didn't really think about, there'll be companies like Farmers and Cerner and Garmin and, all those kind of big players here. And I quickly realized that there was a lot of opportunities in Kansas City. So I didn't take me long to get established here, and yeah, man. I mean, I've been here ever since. I guess that's the condensed version of where I started and where I'm at now.
So, how big is Melbourne compared to Kansas City? Is it much bigger?
It is, yeah. It's 5 million people. So, I mean, what are we at here? It's less than a million, I think, or I mean, Johnson County's
close to 2 million total metro area, but
2 million,
Kansas City itself is not that big.
It's pretty big, all things considered. It's a pretty big city. I mean, Sydney, I think, has 8 million. It's kind of the biggest city in Australia, but Melbourne's no joke. It's pretty crowded, pretty condensed.
Very cool. I've always wanted to make it over there, never have. Well, now you've kind of, I know you've had a pretty lengthy career here in the United States, a few different places as a developer, and worked your way up into management. Currently with Intent, tell us a little bit about Intent.
So Intent is a bit of a departure from where I was. So after like the last 5 or 6 years, I was, like you said, I was more in a manager, director level positions.
Right.
And I really enjoyed those roles, and I definitely appreciate the opportunities there. But one thing that was a thing for me, and it was a bit of a reality check, is that I like writing code. I'm the happiest and I'm the most comfortable if I'm writing code. Because that's where I started, and that's my strength. So, and I never really wanted to lose that skill set. And when you step into a management or a director level position, it's more about people, versus technology. I mean, there is obviously technology that you have to consider, but you usually have a smart team of people that are basically running that for you, and you're just making decisions on whether it's the right thing to do and making sure that you're within budget and stuff like that. So I kind of literally just stepped out of that completely, and I went back to what I really love to do, and that's being a developer. So I left my last position last year, and I stepped into Intent, and I'm a contractor there, and I'm building React and React Native applications for them at the moment. So we have a farmer portal that's being developed in React, and there's a mobile app that's currently being developed in React Native. So it's really cool to kind of get back into that world and getting my feet wet again. React is something that's really being used a lot right now, and it's kind of the hot thing at the moment. So that's really cool to step into that world. I mean, I was a .NET guy for many years, and so there's no .NET here at this company at all. So I've always liked challenges, and this is just another one of those things where I don't necessarily have the experience to do it, but I obviously have a lot of development experience. So I'm kind of learning as I go, and it's been really fun. So for those guys, I'm contracting. I am just working as a developer on the team, and I'm happy to do that. I'm not someone that gets involved in higher level discussions or things like that, and I'm just another guy on the team. Getting work done for the boss.
And you get to collaborate with an outstanding software development company. I understand.
Absolutely, yeah. Active Logic, you guys have been awesome helping out with some resources as well. Right? Yeah, no, it's been good, man. It's been good. I mean, I know we've worked together in the past, and I think you stick with what you're familiar with and the people that you know, especially in Kansas City. I always get this wrong. Is it a big little small town or a small little big town as far as IT? But you know what I'm talking about. It's
a really big small town, I think.
Yeah, you kind of stick with the folks that you know and you've worked with in the past, because you get the most kind of reward from that kind of relationship.
Sure. And what is interesting to me as well is, and I didn't even know you were doing this right when you first started, was the YouTube channel, with the Modern Vintage Gamer channel.
Yeah.
And I've checked it out a few times now. That's an awesome channel, man. Tell us a little bit about that.
So YouTube actually started many years ago. Back in I started the channel in 2007 of all things, but I didn't really get it really serious about it maybe until 2016. And it was something that was always just a fun side hobby for me. It wasn't really anything more than that. And there wasn't really a defining moment where the channel blew up, but it was just, uploading regular content, slowly I started to see the numbers increase.
Yeah.
And the last couple of years, it's been very successful for me, to the point now where I'm kind of approaching 450,000 subscribers on the channel.
I saw that.
Have about 5 million views a month on the channel.
Wow.
And, you know, I've done collaborations, I've done speaking engagements and things like that. It's now more of a business than a hobby for me. And that was one of the reasons why I stepped away from my position last year, because I really wanted to give YouTube a solid push. You know, last year and in the past, what I would do is I would just do it on weekends. So I'd work 40 hours at work, and then nights and weekends I'd devote to the channel. And that's cool, but it also means that it takes away time from the family and weekends and stuff. So what I do now with Intent is I'll do 3 to 4 days a week with Intent, and then the other 2 days is like a YouTube thing. So I keep my weekends available for the family and stuff like that. So it's going great. And you know, I tell anyone that, you know, I started out with an iPhone, or, you know, just a cell phone. That's how I started making content. And anyone that wants to do YouTube, I tell them, go for it. You know, there's no reason why you can't get into it. You know, look, I'm not saying you're going to start making money on day one, but if you have the desire and the passion to maybe make it something that you can monetize down the line, then yeah, I mean, absolutely, you know, give it a go, because it can, you know, reward you later on.
Well, and it's something you're very interested in, and something that, you know, it's not really work.
Yeah,
you know,
it's an escape, right?
What you love to do.
It was always an escape from work for me. It was, you know, a passion and a hobby that I really like to do, just to kind of disconnect from a 40-hour busy work week, and now it's kind of part of my business. You know, of you know, things that I do. So it's been going really well, and hopefully it will continue. And you know, hopefully I'll hit 1 million at some point. Probably not for a while, but you know, I'm definitely doing all the right things to get there. So we'll see.
Right. Good. Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you, what is your favorite video game?
Oh man, that's a great question. I'm an old retro arcade guy. You know, I like the old I like the old classics. You know, so I would probably say something like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, or maybe a Ninja Turtles, you know, those kind of 90s arcade games. I'm a big fan of those. But, you know, I like some of the new stuff too. Like, I'm a big fan of like Call of Duty, and God of War is good. But yeah, I'd probably throw it back to, you know, to the 90s. Now I have to ask, you know, what is yours?
In the old days, from an arcade standpoint, Donkey Kong, right?
Donkey Kong's good, yeah. But that game is so hard. Like, I can maybe clear a couple of screens and I'm out, you know. Yeah.
And then I went through all the Mario Brothers.
Yep.
You know, and every release of those for several years. Went through my NFL days, you know, with the Madden games and so forth, but I haven't been playing much. Yeah, I'm not a gamer anymore.
It's funny you say that. I don't really have the time to play games myself, even though my channel is about video games and tech and retro games and stuff. I'll turn it on for 5 minutes, do some gameplay capture on the capture card, maybe play a couple of minutes of something, and then I turn it off. I'm so busy with the channel, I don't really have that much time to play video games anymore, which sounds strange, but that's how it goes, you know.
Yeah, and then when my son got old enough and moved out, he took the game with him. So, you know, I didn't have anything to play it on. So. Never went and bought another one. But anyhow, well, I'll tell you what, we should probably wrap it up. I don't want to keep you too long. I know you're a busy guy with all kinds of things going on. But for those of you out here watching, if you have any questions for Jim or I, please go to our LinkedIn page at Active Logic Labs and leave comments, questions, whatever there. And make sure you go check out Jim's YouTube with the vintage, right? What is it? Modern Vintage Game.
Yep. Modern Vintage Gamer.
Yeah, Modern Vintage Gamer. Sorry.
Yeah, that's all right.
Check that out on YouTube. It's a cool channel. If you like video games at all, you definitely need to check it out. So, Jim, thanks for taking the time.
Thanks for having me on. Been a
It
pleasure.
was a pleasure. I'm sure we'll catch up soon.